All right, welcome everyone. We are Bitachon Blast number 6. We're focusing on Wings of Faith, and we're going to talk about Essay 6, which is called Rich or Poor, and we're going to leave off with the bracha of Asher Yatzar. Rav Asher, if you ever watched him make Asher Yatzar bracha, it was something to behold, and it's brought down in this forum that making Asher Yatzar with Kavana is a segula for health, and I'll try to explain why that is, and also there's something that always bothered me. Although it's a long bracha and most of us know it by heart, there's some really strange things about it. First of all, uvaravo nikavim nikavim chalulim chalulim. Why do we say so many words over and over again? When I make a bracha on a drink, I usually do it quicker, right? Unfortunately. So we don't repeat different things. Thank you, God. Everything was created with your words. But in this Asher Yatzar, we go on and on and on. If you look at the bracha, it's very long. So I want to tie that in. It has a lot to do with bitachon. It has a lot to do with healthy living and healthy life, and we'll try to answer some of those questions. All right, so first we're going to focus on the Shar Bitachon part. We're in the Shar Bitachon of the Chovos HaLevavos introduction, and this is Rav Asher Zatzal's translation. If one relies on his own money, he could lose it all in one moment, and someone else could then claim it. And one of the things about life is that a person might think that he has money or other things, and in 1 second everything could change. And so that's really, really important. Rav Asher tells over that there are two worlds. One is called the Alma de Shikra, the world of lies and false premises, which is virtually where most people live, including some from people that are just not aware. The other one is the real world, which is the world of Torah, the world of Ruchnius, the world that revolves around Hashem and proper Ashkafa. And Rav Asher tells over that when I came to Panovich, I was a previous victim of Alma de Shikra, a world of lies. And then I met a holy Jew by the name of Rav Chatzkel Levenstein, the Mashgiach, who was connected to the real world. Many people said about him that he was removed from the real world, but he was really on the ball and very connected. He understood what was going on. And the Chovos HaLevavos tells us that even if you earn money with your own power, if it is not meant for you, then you will not be able to use it. Sometimes the money can even cause damage or death. So Rav Asher used to tell us over often, let's talk a little bit more about the richest man in the world before Bill Gates, Howard Hughes, 1905 to 1976. He owned real estate hotels and had both wealth and fame. People were jealous of his charmed life. One day he woke up and was obsessed with germs. We could kind of relate to this in a COVID life, fearing that he would die from exposure to them. He had doctors and scientists create a bubble for him where he could live safely. He had a special room where he dwelled, and people were not allowed to enter without being sanitized. He had OCD. It's severe. They would bring him food that was organic. He became a recluse. Rav Asher says that he read in Time and Newsweek in his youth that featured articles describing his empty and challenging life. There was no enjoyment, even though he had unlimited money. He died a very poor and broken man emotionally. So the point is not to curse all rich people. Like I said, Bitachon is not a poor man's way of consoling himself for not having money. It's a rich man's way of recognizing that he has everything he needs. So the Chovos HaLevavos says, a person may have wealth, but Hashem will prevent them sometimes from having enjoyment from it. Rather, when someone has money, he's an appointee to hold the money and to transfer it, to one whom Hashem sees fit to receive it. As the verse in Kohelet says, Hashem gave the sinner a fixation to collect money, which, by the way, the Gemara Megillah says this refers to Haman, in order that he should be given to the one who is seen fit by Hashem, which the Gemara Megillah says refers to Mordechai and Esther. But the point is that we are just a shomer over the money that we have, and we have to use it for proper things. Rav Asher says this pasuk is a little strange. Why is it referring to anyone else that has money as a sinner? Just because he's not using it properly. But Rav Asher said that if you turn away from Hashem's design for the world, that is a sin. Chovos HaLevavos continues. Sometimes Hashem grants someone wealth for the purpose of destroying him, as it says, Osher Shomer Labal of Raso, wealth intended to damage someone. So a person has to be careful how many people have fallen victim to their wealth. I worked with someone one time who was from the Colorado area, and in her class, when she was growing up, she had a girl who was the daughter of Michael Dell. And she basically said that because of all of her bodyguards, because her father was a very famous and rich man, she had no friends because no one wanted to be friends with her, no one wanted to socialize with her, and she had a lot of struggles because of that. So you can have a lot of wealth, but you're always worried about your life. That's not either something that people want. You could argue and say, well, he was able to afford and pay for that. But I think as Jews, we understand, Michael Dell is Jewish, but as from Jews, we understand that our goal in life is not to become the world's next billionaire, or maybe even the world's next millionaire. Question that someone asked Rav Asher. We mentioned that Shlomo did not recommend being rich, but he himself was rich. We also find that Yaakov Avinu and all the Avos had riches, according to Chazal. How are we to understand this? Are we allowed to pray to Hashem to be rich? So Rav Asher said, Shlomo did not pursue riches. Hashem simply blessed him. And by the way, a king is supposed to be rich in order to protect the country as well. The king must have enough money to pay for his army and the country's needs. We are allowed to use that which Hashem blesses us with, as long as we use it properly. But remember, some of our greatest leaders were very wary about having money. There were probably 100 millionaires who would have fought for the opportunity to build a Royal Yeshiva, a nice mansion. I'm sure that he was aware of that as well, but that's not what he wanted. When he was sick and he needed medical help, then for any Jew that needs medical help, then he was willing to receive that. But even Rav Asher told over a story. He himself, says Rav Asher, I myself attended Rav Elyashiv Shiurim during Ben Azmanim, and I wanted to buy Rav Elyashiv a new hat. I asked his grandson about replacing the Rav's old, worn-out hat, and he laughed and said, I'll let you know when he's ready for a new one. So another question, and again, other friends of mine pressed Rav Asher on, is being rich a bad thing? Answer, not necessarily. If Hashem gives it to you without you running after it and you use it properly, it's not a bad thing. The problem is the pursuit for frivolous reasons, and that thinking that your efforts instead of Hashem are what bring you riches. Then Rav Asher tells over, my cousin, Rav Shlomo Freshwater in London, is a very wealthy man via inheritance. He sits and learns all day, gives a shir in Chai Olam in the morning, and Abin Yomi in the afternoon. And once a week, he gives out tzedakah. He uses his money very well, and that's how everyone should use their money if they have it. What should he do? It's what Hashem gave him. Every Sunday night, they give away £1 million in England. Then someone asked him, well, what about Chazal? The Gemara says, Aser b'shvil sh'tis aser, you should give Meiser and you'll become rich. So there's a famous gra that says that that's only a person that gives not 10%, but it's 20%. And most people don't give 20% of their money to tzedakah. That's the only time the bracha applies. And even though it's true that Chazal say you're allowed to test God, but the truth is, what is richness? There's a famous thing brought down also that the Stipler was asked. It says it's brought down in Chazal that if you are a sandik, then you become rich also. So the Stipler did thousands of brisim. He was a sandik for. They said, "Where's all your money?" And he said, "Have you ever met my son, Chaim Kanievsky? That's my money. That's my richness." So you get paid in the currency that's worthwhile to you. Okay, so let's go to Asher Yatzar, because I think it's a beautiful opportunity for us to talk to Hashem every day. And the question I asked was two main things. There's a lot of questions on Asher Yatzar. One of them is, why is it so long? It's a long bracha. And the other one is that it's very repetitive. Uvaravo, nekavim, you created in man holes and holes. Chalulim, and empty places and empty places. Now, the difference between them, by the way, your mouth has a hole in it. It opens up, right? But your heart has it has empty area inside it. Other body parts have empty areas inside them. So there's a difference between nekavim and chalulim, but why the repetition? So you're going to tell me that there are some mefarshim that say that the gematria of nekavim is 248. It reminds you of the 248 limbs. So that's true, and it's a beautiful pshat, and I think it ties into a deeper pshat here. But we have to ask ourselves, why is it so repetitious? But more than that, it's a very glorious bracha, right? We say, Asher Yatzar Adam b'chachma. You created man with wisdom. Now, by the way, it's a machlokas rishonim how to even read those words, what that even means. Does it mean you, God, created man and you gave man wisdom, or does it mean you, God, created man using your wisdom of God? It's probably both, quite frankly. You created man with wisdom, the wisdom that you endowed in him, and also the wisdom that you gave him. There's a very fascinating correlation. Anyway, Vravo nekavim, you gave him holes and holes, which again, why repetitious? Chalulim, and you gave him empty areas and empty areas. Which again, most of the Mefarshim say that that nekavim refers to the mouth, the nose. Those are items that have holes in them, and they help you breathe. Also, the rectum, how you go to the bathroom, which is what the bracha is about, and also chalula means areas that have chol means empty area. So your heart, your stomach, your intestines, they have empty. Your esophagus, they have empty spaces in them. Okay, but then it's very grand. It is revealed before your great kisei kivadecha. Now, first of all, it's funny because I was one time at a bris, and the gabbai who was calling people up, so he made a mistake. He was supposed to call someone up for kisei shalayo, and he called up the Rosh Shiva, and he said kisei hakavod, the Rosh Shiva, and everyone laughed because this was a yeshiva in America. The Rosh Shiva was not a Baal Gaiva. He didn't think he was God, and everyone was laughing. But anyway, but if you think about a person just went to the bathroom, which is called Beis HaKisei, and you're talking about God's Lefnei Kisei Kvodecha, it's almost sarcastic. It's strange. Like God sits on his throne and you sit on yours. It's a very strange bracha. Okay? But then anyway, then it continues. Shem yiposeach echad behem. If you were to open any one of them. Wait, do you mean my mouth? If I open my mouth? Oh, yisaseh machabem. Or if he closed one of them. If I close my mouth? Ef charles kayim. We couldn't stand or exist in front of you, God. It's very dramatic. And then according to Nusach Sfard, you add a filu sha'achas, which means even for a second, which is a whole machlokas whether you should say those words or not. Different minhagim. And then Baruch atah Hashem, rofei chabasar maflila asos. Thank you, Hashem, for curing everyone and doing awesome things. It's like very dramatic for someone that urinates. And so, but I think that I don't know if there's any other religion in the world where we literally thank God for going to the bathroom. Not only that, if you look at the Gemara and Brachos, before they went to the bathroom, they used to tell their angels that would escort them, they would say, please wait for me, excuse me, I'll be back soon. And then they would go to the bathroom. So there was like a whole, and it's brought down in Shulchan Aruch that we shouldn't do that because it's gaiva, because we're not really, we're not sensitive to the angels that escort us. Although that's a whole discussion in itself, what that even means. But anyway, so why so dramatic? So if you look at the Mefarshim, the Taz on Shulchan Aruch says a very fascinating thing. He says like this. He says that when we go to the bathroom, we're recognizing that we're very humble in front of God, because as much as we're great people, for example, even Paro, we always learn this medrash. Paro didn't go to the bathroom in front of people because he said he was a god, and so he was very embarrassed when he looked at his going to the bathroom. It wasn't a spiritual thing because he was God. For him, it was an absolute moment of vulnerability that denied his godliness. But for us, it's the exact opposite. It's that moment of humility, of recognizing that, okay, God, I'm totally in your hands. Everything that you do determines whether I can eat and digest and go to the bathroom on my own and be able to be continent and not have an accident and be able to go when you want me to go and to be able to relieve myself. There's amazing things that are being said, and this perspective is very fascinating. The Ramah says that waflila asos means that God connects our body to our soul. He allows us to eat, which is physical, but that nurtures our body so we can live, and now we can learn Torah. That's why a lot of people, the next bracha that they make is Elokai Neshama Shasatabi. The next bracha they make after Asher Yatzar in the morning in Birchas HaShachar is to talk about their neshama, because it's a transition. God, yes, I eat, and I eat for your sake, and you give me that power. But there's something very brilliant here, and that is that when a baby is inside the mother's stomach, so some of the exact things that give it life are the exact things that outside the mother's stomach would give it death. So, for example, take two things for an extreme example. You have a baby inside the mother's stomach, and its mouth is sealed, and its mouth doesn't open. So, if that mouth were to open, the baby would drown and die. The baby can't live. It eats from the umbilical cord. So, but yet when the baby's born, at that moment, if the mouth doesn't open, then it wouldn't be able to breathe. It would also die. So there's an exact contrast of the thing that keeps you alive in the mother's stomach is the thing that keeps you dead outside and needs to fix. Same thing with the umbilical cord. The umbilical cord, if it would stay on there and the baby's belly would stay open, it would bleed to death and die. But if it would close up inside the mother's stomach, they wouldn't be nourished. So there's this exact opposite thing that takes place in this transformation. And says the Taz, that's what we're evoking. Uvaravo nikavim nikavim. God, look how precise you are. You gave me certain holes in my body that in my mother's stomach they work one way, nikavim, and then as a born human being they work a different way, nikavim. And chalulim, you created different areas in my body that work one way in my mother's stomach, and then chalulim, these other body parts work a different way when I'm born. And so, yes, we have one of the most dramatic brachas that we make the entire day is a recognition of how awesome and amazing God has created us. It's very fascinating because the Mefarshim argue about how many words are in Asher Yatzar. For those of you that are finicky, you can actually count and you'll see some problems. But the Mefarshim Shulchan Aruch say that there's memhe, there's 45 words in this bracha. And it's reminiscent of Anachnu Ma, what Moshe and Aaron said, we're nothing. What are we? We're worthless. So it's a symbol of humility. A person goes to the bathroom, they have an opportunity to recognize, Hashem, you're the one that sits on the holy chair and throne, and you're the one that is aware of everything that goes on, the intricate aspects of my body, which I'm not even familiar with. And let me set my day straight. Umaflila asos. I recognize that it's awesome what you've done, that every single part of how my body works. So that's what we're trying to do when we go to the bathroom. We constantly remind ourselves that we're human and that we're dependent on Hashem. And when we say this bracha, it's amazing things that happen. It's both. God, look at all the wisdom you endowed in us, but look at all the wisdom you gave me, that I realize that this is my chair and this is where I sit, and I'm a vulnerable human being. That's the ultimate recognition of God. And then Uvravo Nekavim, you created two tracks that are literally opposite. Nekavim, certain body parts that work one way in my mother's stomach and keep me alive, and if they would stop, that if something opened in my mother's stomach that wasn't supposed to open, I would die. I feel, even in 1 second. And then Nekavim, you created them in ways that when I'm alive, they operate differently. And chalulim, there are things in my mother's stomach that work in exact one way, and the exact opposite way, the umbilical cord, and many other aspects. That's rofei chabasar. That's the precision that Hashem is one that takes care of us. Maflila says that's the awesomeness, and that's what we talk about. Because again, only God knows the intricate details of how our body works. And when you talk about when the Torah wrote this halacha based on the Gemara in the 1300s, what little amount did they know about the body? And when the Beis Yosef wrote his Pirush in the 1500s, and the Taz in the 1600s, we know now so much more about how awesome the body is, and also how vulnerable the body is. Look at COVID-19. Look how vulnerable the human body is, but look how powerful and regenerating it is as well. And so, yes, as Jews, probably one of our most dramatic brachas that we make is a blessing on going to the bathroom. But that is our greatness. It's our greatness because we realize how humble and how humble we are. But it's our blessing because we realize how God is with us, even in the darkest times, even in the most private times of our lives. There's a God with us, and that's a very empowering thing. So when we work on Bitachon, now we understand why it's brought down that a person that says Asher Yatzar with Kavana, so he is given health, because like Rav Victor Miller says, what's the reason that Hashem gives a person health challenges? So some reasons we don't understand, but some reasons are because Hashem wants a person to call out to him. And so when a person calls out to Hashem preemptively and says, God, I know how complex my body is, but look what you do, and look how you arrange it and take care of it. So that's the ultimate thing that keeps us healthy. And we should be zochet to say Asher Yatzar with Kavana, to think about some of the words, to look at the brachas that we're making, and to recognize that it really is a very glorious blessing to be able to enjoy our the great body that Hashem gave us and how it functions in so many amazing ways. Have a great week.
Amen, Chef.